This woman's ex was so obsessed with her, he killed her, then cut her up into little pieces. Viewers' discretion is advised. Margaret Smythe was 29 years old at the time of the gruesome incident. She had a crazy obsessed ex named Christopher Taylor. Well, one fateful day on the 25th of January 2019, Margaret stayed up chatting to her mother while exchanging more than 80 text messages with Christopher. He was telling her how he was leaving the area and wanted to see her for the last time. Margaret's mother went to bed, and when she got up in the morning, there was no sign of Margaret, although her handbag and phone charger were still there, and her laptop was still turned on. It was as though she stepped out for a little while, but the mother was worried as she did not return, and so, increasingly worried, she went to Margaret's sister. The sister rang the bus station where Margaret worked, and she was shocked to find out that Margaret didn't go in for work that day, as it was a job she loved and she wouldn't willingly miss it. The sister and the mother rang the police and swung into action, contacting anyone that Margaret may have been in touch with and organising searches via social media. But her disappearance remained a mystery. However, within hours, police had a suspect, which was the ex-boyfriend, Christopher, who was a labourer with a drug habit, who had a reputation of being unfaithful and had been once convicted of assaulting another partner. Shortly after her disappearance, officers visited his home, which he shared with his girlfriend and his little brother named Brian Otley. Christopher insisted he had not seen Margaret for weeks and had not owned a mobile phone for 2 weeks. However, this was the first catalogue of lies he told to try and avoid the consequences of his horrific actions. Christopher had been in contact with her regularly, including just hours earlier, when he and Margaret were exchanging messages. The lie was soon to be exposed as Margaret's boyfriend told the sister that she had contacted him at 3 a.m. In her WhatsApp messages to him, she said Christopher had asked to see her, telling her it was in her best interests. Armed with this information, police went back to Christopher, but he repeatedly denied being in contact with Margaret, and he told the police this: "I've messed up a few times with my girlfriend. I'm on my last chance and don't want to ruin it." A couple days later, police visited him a third time, and they noticed he had a cut lip with tape around his fingers. He claimed he had been assaulted and did not want to report it to the police. In fact, Christopher had spent the previous days visiting the derelict Red Bridge Tavern, where he previously was working there to convert them into homes. That was the place where he brutally unalived Margaret and savagely cut up her body in an attempt to dispose of her. After unaliving Margaret, Christopher had roped in his brother Brian to help him, and the pair were seen on CCTV with bags, probably with Margaret's remains. A couple days after the third police visit, the pair pretended they were going fishing, carrying fishing gear and a bag towards the fishing lodge behind the Red Bridge Tavern. While they were there, Christopher climbed over a wall into the pub car park. The pair were there for half an hour before returning home. That's where they disposed of Margaret's body. At this point, police gathered enough CCTV footage and evidence to convict the two. They found Margaret's mobile phone broken in an alleyway behind Christopher's home, and one of her trainers behind the Red Bridge Tavern. Her body was finally found. She was naked except for a black bra. She was lying on her right side, and her head, left leg and arm were missing. Christopher, who was 40 at the time, was ultimately convicted of murder and sentenced to life in prison with a minimum term of 24 years. As for his brother, who helped him dispose of the body, Brian was convicted of assisting an offender and sentenced to 9 years in prison.